2 million sub fitness YouTuber makes a 1 hour analysis of Iman Khalif. Conclusion at 52:20.
What is the takeaway for this situation?
Oh God. What is he analyzing in here? Okay, if he agrees with us that there's not enough info to know, then he's based and awesome. If he disagrees with us, then he's a hack. Okay, let's go.
With Imane Khalif and Lynn. So I think chromosomes matter. I think the genes matter. I think the hormone levels matter. And I think the DSD category plus medical condition of these fighters matters. I think a lot of this information we just went over is of critical importance to carefully evaluate in a nuanced manner among each fighter. And it was essentially just thrown out the window in Olympic boxing seemingly, as there was not only no verification testing, but there was also no testosterone threshold cutoffs or regulated limits in the Olympics, nor were there, mandatory anti-androgen requirements or anything of that nature. I'm not to say that that's a perfect system, but at the end of the day, there was nothing in place to prevent somebody from competing who has,
Do they really not test for doping anywhere in the Olympics? That just seems so unlikely. They don't do any blood testing at all in the Olympics anywhere? For any of the events or just for boxing?
even greater predispositions than, Castor, seemingly. So despite, neither of those tests are perfect, and there's a ton of room to maneuver and cheat that system, but there's a reason why other sports at least have cutoffs in place to do something, to try and somewhat allow parity here and to be inclusive. So despite other sports in the Olympics this year having rigorous cutoff, there is no formal oversight body for boxing. Supposedly the IOC created an ad hoc boxing unit to temporarily oversee the boxing competition in Paris, and this unit has no guidelines for gender eligibility, seemingly, or the extent to which it is basically allowing boxers to compete as females if they have female gender markers on their passports or legal documents. So if you had a passport that showed you were a female, you were eligible to fight in the women's category. That is what we've been led to believe. So to determine if Imane Khalif or Lin Yuting have a semblance of a male level advantage, they need to be tested. And until the IOC...
Wait, hold on.
Liberal? I guess it just depends on the particular issue. I'm a radical alt-centrist. What if
the way...
Well, I'm clearly joking here, right? This is 6 years old also. This is in 2017. How the fuck do you even have this clip? Creeper.
makes clear what their specific criteria is for eligibility above and beyond what's on your passport, and how they're ensuring fairness in situations like this that can be, debated at that point as to if that criteria is sufficient or not. We can only assume, without any more information, that there is a possibility that under-virilized men are winning gold medals in women's sports at an Olympic level and also punching women in the head in the ring. Like, that's, with the lack of information given, we can assume that that is certainly a possibility, and it's wild.
Oh my God. That's hedged appropriately. I think it feels appropriately hedged, assuming that the IOC or any other underthing doesn't do any type of testing anywhere. But I feel like you would have to test for doping. Wouldn't you have to look at hormone levels? Isn't that can't that be one of the big indicators?
That this is occurring in 2024. It's very unfortunate that these two individuals that, again, not born as biologic men going through full puberty and then transitioning to women and then trying to compete in boxing or something, these individuals are born as women and believe wholeheartedly that they are just natural, normal, healthy young women, and all of a sudden are thrust under scrutiny like this and basically getting shit on by the public for having competed against women. I think it's a highly contentious and weird situation. And I also do empathize with those individuals who really probably have no clear-cut understanding of what's going on. Like, this is seemingly a very recent thing. They were disqualified, and who knows if they know what that means or why they were disqualified and if it made sense. Because if you were disqualified last year for something in your test and then in 2024 you were eligible, it's like, okay, well, you would think at the highest level of sport in the Olympics, whatever their tests are, would be the criteria of which is, okay, I'm obviously good to go. Nor would you even think, like, hopefully I can finagle this test because you just think you're a woman this entire time, which, you could be, unless you're told otherwise via proof, and you have some sort of clear-cut test eligibility requirements that would dictate that you are or aren't. You can't have somebody getting away with having a 5AR deficiency with male-level test levels and punching women in the head. So hopefully that's not the case, and hopefully they have, I guess, the spectrum of androgen and sensitivity that would otherwise net out to female territory.
I mean, there's no way that she has even either boxer would have even low male test levels, because those are so much higher, right? They're like 5 to 10 times higher, I think, than reference range female levels. Although I guess, is it possible that the lowest test level male is around the highest test female? There would have to be a disorder on one or both sides to even make it possible.
auditory performance levels, but we have no idea if that's the case, and we will not know unless more information is presented that may be otherwise too much of a privacy concern to be releasing to the public, at which point it's like, okay, well, I don't know, does it just suck for you then if you're an individual born like this? Maybe, unfortunately, but I also think that for fairness of women's sport, you almost have to have that level of scrutiny, all but maybe not publicized to the public, but there should be clear-cut criteria that somebody needs to meet, that the public knows what the criteria is, and then the athletes are tested accordingly to determine that they don't have response to male level androgen levels that is reflective of that of a male. I think that's a fairly general and logical statement. My brain is absolutely fucking warped at this point, but hopefully you guys learned something from that, found an interesting, wild, controversial situation, and without the actual specific categorical identification and medical condition and analysis of hormone levels and chromosomes and genes, we have no idea at the end of the day if this is fair or not. So to be determined, maybe, but hopefully these individuals are otherwise, equated to what is just a normal functioning woman at the end of the day when it comes to the capacity for muscle building, blood building, bone mass, etc. But it's hard to overlook some of these anatomical differences and even slight sensitivity at the receptor and these non-genomic effects.
Okay, I don't normally ban in kick chat, but if you just say things that are just blatantly not true or wrong, I will. Destiny, she bulldozed all her opponents in one goal. It wasn't even close. This is the first goal she's won. She's lost in lots of competitions in the past. You're just making shit up, okay? Jesus.
And the fact that individuals likely, if they have internal testes, have male level hormone levels, it's like really hard to overlook that there should be higher scrutiny on this than a fucking passport. So anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. All the comments help the algorithm. They're much appreciated. Like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplaysmoredates.com. I'm laughing because I'm saying my outro as if it's still like a relevant outro. Like I don't even.
Nice. Okay. This is how they found the clip. Know your influencer, Destiny. Oh, I've seen this before.
Are essentially, and this is Sigmund Freud was a Kabbalist, and they believe in bisexuality. They worship Baphomet. They are trying to use psychology to introduce, and I read this in a book by a Jewish historian, David Bacon, to make their religion the religion of the world,
yes.
Right? Which is a pedophile-centric religion that believes in demons, it believes in child sacrifice, and it is the reason that we have the circumstances that we are in today, and most people won't be able to find this history. And they are...
Just as a decent heuristic, basically anybody that says the word Baphomet is either about to say the craziest political shit you've ever heard in your entire life or introduce you to the craziest BDSM you've ever seen in your entire life. There are no sane political commentators that are talking about Baphomet, okay? Holy shit. These sound illusions fool almost everyone. Okay, last thing, and then J6 stuff. What is this?
I want you to listen to these two sounds and decide which is higher. So this is sound A.
Oh boy.
And this is sound B. Okay, this is sound A. And this is sound B. Okay.
It's going to have to do with perceiving fucking overtones or like the octave or some bullshit.
So to me, sound A is clearly higher, but that's strange because sound higher. So this is sound A, and this is sound B. Okay.
No, it's not actually. Wait, hold on.
This is sound
Sorry.
A, and this is sound B. Okay.
Some people, okay, B has like a growling thing going on, which makes it sound lower, but it sounds like it's the same frequency. I could be wrong. I don't know. Let's check.
So to me, sound A is clearly higher, but that's strange because sound A was just a 100 hertz sine wave. Sound B
is a 100 hertz weird wave.
He had that same 100 hertz frequency, but also
a different timbre. Oh, wait.
50 hertz and 200 hertz. So we added higher frequencies, but the sound was lower. How does that work? We added higher, also 150 hertz and 200 hertz.
There's gonna be some dumb Fourier oh no, it's not even that. Why would adding higher frequencies give the illusion of lower sound? I'm trying to imagine why. It's not, the 200 hertz one isn't doing it. It's just 151. I don't know why. Something to do with dissonance makes the thing sound lower than it actually is, but I don't know what the answer is. Does this sound lower than this? Or no, it would be this. Something is gonna, it's something to do with the dissonance between the 100 and the 150. It's something to do with these two. All right, let's go.
So we added higher frequencies, but the sound was lower. How does that work? I think there's this idea that what our ears do is simply detect the frequency of vibrations in our environment that are between 20 hertz and 20,000 hertz. But there is so much more to hearing than that. And in this video, we're going to go through a series of audio illusions that illustrate how our sense of hearing actually works. Most of these effects will work on a phone or laptop speakers, but if you have headphones handy, well, I'd recommend putting them on for the full experience.
Wow, wait, let me use the bathroom real quick and then we'll do this. Hold on. Buckle your goddamn seatbelts, okay? 1 sec. Okay. Wait, I saw somebody in chat type that 150 would be a perfect fifth. I don't know what the 50% is. That a perfect fifth? 440 hertz is an A, right? What is 660 hertz? Is that an E? Oh, shit. Wait, then why does that make it sound weird? Wait, I don't know if I believe him. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, and then he's saying if we had 200 of this, it's going to sound weird? Hold on. Okay, so we have 100. We've got... Give me the YouTube video on this. And 150. And then 200. Okay, 100. 150. And then 200. Oh, wow, what's happening? Wait, but now wait. Hold on. All of them together. Do you think it matters the order that you play them? Because I feel like if I play them like sequentially, it doesn't sound like there's a lower one. But maybe I'm just tricking myself into thinking that. Okay, fuck me. All right, whatever. It's going to be some bullshit wave interference, complicated physics nonsense that nobody gives a fuck about.
It's like a whole body instrument, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
This is the Sydney Town Hall pipe organ. When it was built in 1890, it was the largest organ in the world. Something I didn't realize about organs is that they were meant to sound like many different instruments playing together.
Organs are.
Wow, Peachcraft, thanks for the tier 5 subs. Can you play the organ? Fuck no.
Very fluty, right?
Yeah.
You can tell. Compare that to a trumpet. Oboe sound. So you can.
What are all the white things that he fails to pull out? Organs are where they store the communion that they serve to all of the different people. So like if you're in a church, you have to put your name in. When they pass the basket around, you put your name in with the donations. And then when the priest gets the name with your donation on it, he blesses like a piece of bread for you called the Eucharist. And then they store that where the organ is. This is why all churches have organs in them. And then when you go up during church and they do, this is the body of Christ or blah, 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 they're pulling out these. So these are all the names of the people in the congregation.
You can hear all these orchestral sounds on the organ. We could get inside the instrument too.
Can you explain the difference between an organ and a piano? There's a lot of everything I just said was false, by the way. This is not false. There are a lot of instruments that have keyboards, so they're laid out the same, right? So theoretically, if you can play the notes, you can play them. But like an organ has a bunch of stops and stuff that you're pulling out. For organs, there's all of these pipes that are usually like to have a real organ, you need a big space because there's lots of pipes. Usually when you're pulling out stops, you're changing like where the air is going through different pipes. And by pulling those stops out and changing the direction of the air, you get a different kind of sound or a kind of noise from an organ. They also usually have pedals beneath, like more complicated pedals that might just respond to notes that you're playing. I shouldn't say more complicated, but they're not like a piano pedal. So like I can play an organ in the same way that I can play like a marimba. Like I know what the notes are. Like I could, good one, but that's not the same as but it's not. I wouldn't say I'm like a marimba player. I just know what the notes are. Same thing with like an organ. Like I know what the notes would be on an organ, but I don't know how to operate the stops or the pedals or anything. So I could just like play it like a keyboard. It doesn't. Yeah.
Sure.
What pushes sound through the organ? I think before it was an actual. Like, I think you would turn a switch or there'd be a motor or something running that's actually pushing, like, air. It has to be something. There's got to be, like, a pump or something that's pushing air. Something, I think, right? I think?
Should we go look? Let's have a look, yeah. Okay.
For each instrument, there are a series of pipes in the organ which play all the different notes for that instrument.
I mean, there are 8,000 pipes in this organ.
8,000?
8,000, yeah.
Why do you need that many?
To create all the different sounds of the orchestra.
What you see on the outside is just a tiny fraction of the organ itself.
Whoa, look at all these. They're all hidden in here.
They are, yeah. And some are wooden, some are metal. Some have resonators at the bottom of them to create the more reedy sounds, the brassy sounds. But then these wooden ones are more of the deep, fluty sounds as well.
So this is like what a keyboard...
It's a keyboard, yeah. That's right. A keyboard layout, yeah, of
right.
pipes.
When two pipes of the same length vibrate, they both play the same note. That's because they're both producing the same fundamental frequency, that is, the lowest and usually highest amplitude vibration they produce. But if the pipes are made of different materials, they will sound...
That's the lowest and highest amplitude. He's shortcutting it, but he means the lowest frequency at the lowest frequency is usually the highest amplitude. No. It's the lowest high. No, he's correct. It's the lowest highest. It is the lowest highest. That's correct. Because there might be lower frequencies that are being played like down here, but they're not as high as this is.
Vibration, mental frequency. That is the lowest and usually highest amplitude vibration they produce. But if the pipes are made of different materials, they will sound different. So you can tell they are different instruments. And that's because each one produces a distinct set of higher frequencies called overtones. They're not as loud as the fundamental, and we don't hear them as distinct tones, but they affect the quality of the sound, called timbre. It's how you can tell apart a trumpet from, say, a flute. They have overtones of different frequencies and relative amplitudes. For a lot of instruments, the most common overtones are integer multiples of the fundamental frequency. These are known as harmonics.
If this was your fundamental note,
yep,
the notes that you're going to be hearing with it would be...
He's playing C. I think you hear the octave, you hear C, and then you hear G, and then I think you hear the next C, and then you hear like an off-pitch E maybe, I think. G, and then, oh no, you don't hear the next C, you hear an E. Some of these that he's playing up here, though, once you get past the, is it your ninth or is it the octave up? Once you get past the ninth, I think the overtones are out of tune. I don't know why I'm saying this. Nobody cares if I'm saying this. Sorry. Doesn't matter.
So all of those notes are within that fundamental note.
Now, harmonics can be useful when you're trying to play really low notes. The Sydney Town Hall pipe organ is one of only two in the world that has a 64-foot long pipe.
It's actually so large that it has to be folded over itself.
Where is
like my
the 64? Can we see it?
You've got the grand question that I don't know. I know it's somewhere here.
Like that's a really big chunk of wood right here.
Oh, yeah.
Could that be it?
This pipe is used to produce a frequency of 8 hertz.
When you get to that level, it's more something that you feel rather than something that you hear.
For sure.
I think human hearing, well, I want to say it drops off at 20 hertz, but that sounds way too low. Is it like 50 or 60? How low? Because headphone responses are usually like 20 to 2,000 or something, or 20 to 15,000. Can we hear all the way down to 20? How low can human ears hear? Oh, okay. Maybe it is around 12. Around 20 is usually... Under ideal laboratory conditions, humans can hear sound as low as 12. There we go.
The lowest note most big pipe organs can play is 16 hertz, which is just at the limit of human hearing. But even this requires a 32-foot pipe, which is too big or expensive for many organs.
Do you know where the 32-footers are?
Well, they're
The ones
basically-
out the front?
They're the ones that you see at the front. That one.
Well, that's the 32-footer.
Yeah.
So that's nearly 10 meters.
Nearly 10 meters, yeah. It's pretty scary to think about from the top of it, actually.
In 18th century Europe, Georg Joseph Vogler was a popular organist. He wanted to tour the continent, but that would require building a compact, portable organ that he could take with him on the road. Now, he obviously couldn't haul around the huge 32-foot pipe required to produce 16 hertz.
Even if we don't hear it, it probably contributes to the overall sound in some way. Potentially, yes. This is why people, audiophiles, will say that MP3 or other algorithms that cut out higher frequencies, one of the reasons why MP3s and other forms of audio compression are so much smaller than the original files is because it's cutting out information that it thinks isn't relevant or that doesn't impact the final recording much. And a lot of that information is sound that's over a certain frequency threshold. But like an audiophile guy will tell you like, well, actually, the presence of other frequencies, even if they're not completely audible in the ear, can change the way that you interpret other frequencies. And so you're actually missing out on harmonic information. It doesn't sound the same. Now, how true that is, I'm not sure, but people...
So how could he still create the low frequencies that make the organ so powerful? Well, Vogler realized that if he played the harmonics of 16 hertz using shorter pipes, your brain would hear this missing fundamental.
Can we try the trick and see if it
Yeah,
sounds...
sure.
Yeah.
The fifth is that sort of most common fundamental, which you're going to hear to get the low sound. But basically, the quint gets fused with a 16-foot, and it creates the lower resultant tone. So that's just the 16 metal.
It's so funny because you add it and I do not hear it going up. You're playing a fifth above.
Yes.
But I'm hearing it go down. Like
I hear that go up, but I don't know. It's just I'm used to hearing people singing and hearing people adding other notes.
It's so funny because you add it and I do not hear it going up. You're playing a fifth above.
Yeah.
Audio compression has more to do with indexing redundant data and the approximation with which you segment out the repeated data. For music compression, yes, you can compress stuff losslessly and not lose any of the data because of cutting out redundant data. But for really high compression on audio, you absolutely are starting to cut out data. It's not just finding a way to index it differently or whatever. You're cutting out actual audio information.
Yes.
But I'm hearing it go down. Like you just pull that out and I'm like, oh yeah, the note dropped.
That's the trick. Yeah.
With the two sounds I played at the beginning, the first was a pure 100 hertz. But the second sound was made up of the harmonics of 50 hertz. So,
But here, when he plays all three at the same time, it kind of does sound like there's a lower one here.
you actually heard this fundamental frequency even though it wasn't there. That's how higher frequencies together can sound lower than low frequencies, if they are harmonics of a low fundamental. Now, this might not be as weird as it seems. If you look at the waveform of the harmonics, you find that adding the higher frequencies changes the period of the sound. It makes the period longer. So
Isn't this like Fourier transformation shit? I've only ever seen that written about like constructive wave interference that makes other types of waves. I don't know what any of those words mean, by the way. Constructive wave interference, I would imagine, is when you add two waves together, the wave that they create, is that constructive? I have no clue.
so that it's actually the same as the missing fundamental.
If you kind of recreate some of those harmonic pitches, you're actually going to bring out more bass.
Wait, have we listened to the talking piano on this stream yet? Okay, sorry.
In the sound.
So the idea of like you could play the harmonics and hear the fundamental, even if you're not playing the fundamental.
Not lossless. You minimize data like with picture compression by taking redundant data and literally compressing it. Didn't I literally say not lossless? Is this just where you're like, you are volunteering information that you're happy to share with the, like, yes, you can losslessly compress audio, but that lossless compression is still pretty big. What is it, like anywhere from 40 to 50% or whatever, or 30 to 50% of the original audio, depending upon what kind of audio you're compressing. But with the right MP3 shit, you can cut it by like 95%. Like you can take a 100 megabyte audio recording and you could compress it out to like 1 to 5 megabyte. You can cut out a ton of data if you do MP3. But no, you said cut out frequencies, which is not what I'm talking about. Most of compression is not done by cutting out data, by compressing it. If you're a lossless audio compression is going to be way bigger than a lossy audio compression. You can cut out quite a bit with lossless compression, yes, but I'm pretty sure most audio is compressed by cutting out high frequencies. Like MP3 that's a lossy encoder. You're cutting out audio frequencies. All MP3 does. I don't know what the standard encoders are that we use today. No, it's not. Yeah, what do you... Okay, you're right. Never mind.
That's right, yeah.
So different frequency sounds can combine to make notes that aren't there, but they can also do something even stranger.
They cut some, but the original data isn't going to have a bunch of garbage frequencies. Yes, the whole point is cutting out. Bro, we can literally look at MP3 compression on, is it a spectro? No, it's on a frequency graph. I don't even know what the fuck you call these tables. Like, you can literally see where frequencies are being cut. I can't read this goddamn bullshit. Wave, WAV, should be uncompressed, and it's uncompressed, and it's original, obviously, because it's not compressed at all. This is MP3, 128 kilobits per second, fast encoding. I don't know what that means. I don't think that's calling out an actual encoder. Missing in the MP3 layered one-phase inverted. I don't know what one-phase inverted. Actually, I don't know what the fuck any of these terms mean. MP3, you can specify a data rate, but I don't think that's... What did people used to use for an MP3? Fuck me. It's been so long since I've fucked with audio shit at all. What's the name of the graph that you can open in Audacity? Is it not a spectrum? Like, what the fuck is this? What is this type of graph called? This thing. Spectrograph. $10 gifted if you can answer these correctly. What, hearing audio quality? I'm not gonna be able to do it. MP3 changes the bit streams. 128 kilobits per second will be a smaller file than 320 kilobits per second. Not change frequencies, LeMayo. How do you think it... What do you think the data being cut out is on a more compressed MP3? How do you think it's doing it? On a more compressed MP3. Okay, hold on. FLAC compression size compared to MP3 compression size. Luna, thanks for the 5 gifted subs. A 40 megabyte WAV file compressed to FLAC might be around 20 to 24 megabytes. FLAC is a, I don't even know what it... I don't remember what it stands for. Audio codec. Something. Front end. Lossless audio code. It was the developer. I don't remember. I don't remember. But FLAC is lossless. So you can reconstruct the original wave file with a FLAC encoding, or with a FLAC encoded file. So this is saying a 40 megabyte WAV file will be around 20 to 24 megabytes, while the same file compressed to a 192 kilobits per second MP3 would be about 4 megabytes, right? You can make the file much smaller with MP3, but the MP3 encoding will be a lossy encoding, meaning that the MP3 cannot be used to reconstruct the original WAV file. It's not just done by reshuffling or re-indexing or whatever the data. You're actually changing the data in an MP3. It's different, and you can't reconstruct the original file from the MP3 file, right? So this FLAC encoding and compression is going to be smaller than the WAV file that's just done through reorganizing or reindexing or whatever the fuck you're doing when you're compressing digital data. But the MP3 is done by actually changing you're cutting out frequencies, right? In order to do it. I don't know why I'm arguing this right now. Okay.
Hello, it's me, Mario.
In Super Mario 64, there's a staircase that seems to go on forever. Players can't level up until they collect enough coins. Now, listen carefully to the music. The scale sounds like it keeps going up and up and up, just like the endless staircase. This is the shepherd tone illusion, and here's a shepherd glissando on its own. An ever-increasing tone should be impossible, because we can't hear anything beyond the 20,000 hertz limit. And yet, this sound keeps going, always ascending. The trick is a shepherd tone isn't just one note. There are multiple frequencies being played, all separated by octaves. All of these frequencies are increasing, but as they do, their volumes change. So the high notes get quieter and the low notes get louder. High notes soon fade out and new low notes are faded in. This gives the illusion of an ever-rising pitch, like the audio version of a barbershop pole.
Shepherd tones can also evoke emotional or physical responses in some listeners.
Wow.
A 2016 study found that after listening to shepherd tones, participants reported feeling nervous, anxious, and disturbed.
Do they have a control for this? Because I imagine sitting listening to a fucking random thing in your headphone for any amount of time would probably make you feel that way, right? Like if you had to listen to a sine wave for 5 minutes, I feel like it would also make you feel. I wonder if they did a double blind experiment on this.
Perhaps that's why during an intense bombing scene in the film Dunkirk, shepherd tones feature in the accompanying score.
Hopefully this won't make you uneasy, but I want you to try to figure out which well-known tune this is. All of the notes have been kept the same, but they've been mixed up into different octaves. Did you
Were they rhythmically correct? I don't know what the fuck it is.
recognize the song? Well, here is the unscrambled melody.
Okay.
But now that you've heard that, can you follow the scrambled version?
Okay.
To me, it's fascinating how the second time I heard the scrambled melody, the tune seemed obvious, which is very different from how it sounded the first time. Our brains can find patterns in random sounds, too. This is the phantom word illusion, created by Dr. Diana Deutsch.
Oh no.
Listen to this audio and try to figure
One of these got really big on the internet a few years ago. What was it? Yanny or Laurel? Was that the one?
out which words are being said. You can put what you heard in the comments.
Is this what schizophrenia is like? Is this what my average chatter is like?
When a speaker plays a word, the second speaker plays a different word at the same time. According to Dr. Deutsch, because the signals are mixed in the air before they reach your ears, you're given a pile of sounds to choose from, so you can create words in your mind.
Do you think that these Russian propaganda channels, e.g. Breaking Points, are unwittingly peddling false info, or do you believe they have more direct knowledge? For people like Breaking Points, I don't know if it's intentional or not, but I do know they should know better.
A lot of what we hear depends not on the frequencies of sound, but on how our brains process them. Dr. Deutsch noticed that when she played this illusion near exam week, students reported hearing words like no brain, I'm tired, or no time. And we can actually prime the brain to hear what we want it to hear. For example, using text. Take the case of this crowd chanting.
That is embarrassing! That is embarrassing! That is embarrassing! That is embarrassing!
You're primed to hear the lyrics you see. These are called mondegreens, after a misheard poem in which there's a line, "They have slain the Earl o' Murray and Lady Montegreen." Except in the real poem, the Earl dies alone and his killers actually laid him on the green. Sometimes mondegreens happen when sounds are divided logically but incorrectly, such as hearing Pulitzer Prize instead of Pulitzer Prize. Language familiarity would help you hear the correct one from
Anybody remember the Not Father?
the start. So while UK football fans might hear the common chant, "That is embarrassing," an American football fan might not.
What's even more amazing is how subtle visual cues can affect what we hear. What am I saying in this clip? Bear, bear.
He's clearly saying bear, and anybody that's hearing anything different is insane.
What am I saying in this clip? Bear, bear, bear. If you heard the word bear, that's because that's what I was saying.
Based, but if you're crazy...
But what am I saying in this clip? Bear, bear.
Oh, now he's saying ver, right? Oh my god, guys, we're so good. It's like passing a second grader hearing test.
Bear. Now I bet you heard fair.
Yeah, that's what I said.
But if you play back both those clips without looking, you'll find it's the exact same audio. All we changed...
What? Wrong. Wrong.
Clip. Bear, bear, bear. If you heard the word bear, that's because that's what I was saying. But what am I saying in this clip? Bear, bear, bear.
Oh
now
my god.
I bet you heard
Fuck.
fair. But if you play back both those clips without looking, you'll find it's the exact same audio. All we changed was the mouth movement. And I can prove it to you by playing those two clips at the same time, and what you hear will change depending on which clip you focus on. Bear, 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 bear. So what we see affects what we hear.
Fuck you.
And the reverse is also true.
In this illusion, if no sound is played, it looks like the two circles are passing through each other. But add a sound when they intersect, and immediately it seems like they're bouncing off each other.
Fuck you. Not me.
What we see and hear are intrinsically linked because in the real world, one sense can reliably inform the other. But what if there are no visual cues to go on?
In the 1950s, air traffic controllers were communicating with multiple pilots simultaneously in the same room. Unfortunately, messages from all of the pilots would play from a single loudspeaker, and the overlapping audio made it really difficult to pick out just one voice. So researchers started looking into the so-called cocktail party effect, because this problem resembled focusing on a single voice in a noisy room. Most of us can do this with little effort, but how? It's kind of like taking the recording of the entire party and pulling out a particular voice's waveform. The sound waves interfere with each other before reaching your ears, so this should be a difficult task. In this recording, try to find the voice talking about a flight in this crowd. I find that really hard. But if you hear...
Yeah, shit. I was going to say, am I retarded? Because I couldn't hear it at all. Oh, fuck. Whew, thank God.
Hear the voice first, then the rest of the conversation is easier to follow. This is much easier because you can predict what words will come next based on context and language structure.
Okay.
The second
bit.
way we can focus on one voice
I could
is
hear a
by
little bit there.
identifying where the sound is coming from. Listen again, but this time focus on the pilot played in your left ear.
In a cocktail party, you can focus on your friend by ignoring sounds that come from other locations. Once researchers realized this, they advocated that different pilots be broadcast through different speakers spread out throughout the control room. This allowed air traffic controllers to more successfully tune in to their pilot.
But how do we actually locate the source of a sound? Well, I'm going to put on this blindfold and ask my wife to walk around me and clap in different locations, and I am going to try to point to the location of the sound. So let's give it a...
We get it. You're married. You got a wife. You don't have to brag about it, my dude. Can't we not distinguish sounds? I think we can do left to right really well, but I don't know if we can do up and down. I don't think, but let's find out. I feel like we did this in physics. No, in psych. Let's test. Let's see.
Try.
Normally, you can pinpoint a sound to within a degree or two. And there are actually 4 different cues that help me identify the location of the sound.
How was it?
The first is volume. A sound on my right will be louder in my right ear. My head sort of casts a sound shadow over my left ear. And the second cue is that this shadow attenuates higher frequencies more than low frequencies. It's kind of like when your neighbor is having a party. You can't really hear the high frequencies, like the lyrics, but you can hear the bass, because low frequencies are less attenuated by distance and obstacles. The third is time delay. It takes a sound half a millisecond to cross your head, so sound will usually arrive at one ear before the other.
Listen to a beep on your left.
Easy.
And then on your right.
Easy.
Now, as the delay between those 2 beeps is shortened, it's less of an echo and more just one sound that's really on your left.
The fourth cue we use to identify the source of a sound is at what point in the wave cycle the sound arrives at each ear, or the phase of the wave. Is it arriving at a peak or a trough? The phase of the wave at one ear will typically be different than the phase at the other ear.
Now, you run into a bit of trouble when the sound is either directly in front or behind you, or on any point in a vertical plane that passes through the middle of your head. And that's because the distance from the sound to both of your ears is the same, and therefore those 4 cues aren't very useful.
Owls solve this issue with asymmetrical ears. Their left ear is actually lower on their head than their right ear, so sounds from below are louder in their lower left ear. Humans typically have symmetric ears, but their shapes are important.
This is where the outer part of your ear comes in. I mean, what we'd normally just refer to as the ear. Technically, this is called the pinna. Depending on the location and the frequency of sound, it will bounce off these ridges and bumps on your ear and end up inside your ear, actually going into the eardrum. And those reflections will actually change some frequencies differently than others, depending on the location.
Scientists placed tiny microphones inside volunteers' ears to measure this. They could see, for example, that a 6,000 hertz sound located above you might be amplified by 10 decibels, but that same sound below you would be attenuated by 10 decibels.
Wow.
These figures depend on the unique bumps and ridges of cartilage in your ear. So each person's ears have a unique response curve to different frequencies at different locations. And over the course of our lives, our brains learn the way different frequencies reflect off our ears, and we use that information to identify the source of the sound.
Now, every person has a unique pinna shape. So what if our ears changed?
In a 1998 study, researchers placed small molds into the
Holy shit. Maybe this is why Donald Trump is fucking his speech up and everything so much, because his ear changed because of how dramatically altered it was from that gunshot.
Ears of a group of participants, changing the shape of their pinnas. Here's one subject's data. The rigid background grid represents where sounds were actually played. The dots are the subject's guesses, and the darker warped grid is the averages of those guesses. Before the study, they were fairly good at locating sounds, but after changing their pinna shape, they were downright terrible.
Wow.
Over a series of days and weeks with their new pinnas, the participants all adjusted and became better at locating sound. So it is something your brain can adapt to.
They had these people wear fake ear things for 40 days. No shot.
Thankfully, after the molds were removed, participants had no trouble reverting back to their original ears. Pinna shape is so key to an immersive sound experience in virtual reality that companies like Apple and Sony actually scan your ears to create personalized spatial audio. And for a long time, people have been trying to harness and amplify our ability to locate sounds. In 1880, Professor Alfred Mayer presented a device called a topophone to locate ships in the fog. It was made from two adjustable hearing cones. By changing the distance and angle between them, sailors could narrow down the direction of a ship's foghorn. Unfortunately, they weren't very useful because sound waves interact with fog.
Duh.
But then, during World War I, locating bombing planes on approach was of central importance. So armies developed special equipment called sound mirrors to amplify sound. In Britain, sound mirror stations coordinated together to locate an enemy up to 15 minutes in advance. But as planes became faster, sound mirrors couldn't detect them early enough, and they were eventually abandoned after the invention of radar.
Yikes.
But even though the technology became obsolete, the system was not. The radar team used the coordinating stations idea that was first developed from the sound mirror program. Linked radar stations were a critical defense in the Battle of Britain.
Oh wow, this loser. He's been playing the whole time.
This is the Vox Angelica on the Sydney Town Hall organ. When two pipes are slightly out of tune, there's this pulsing effect to the sound. You can hear that in a more pronounced way if I play pure tones. Here is a pure 261 Hz sine wave and a pure 263 Hz sine wave. When both of these tones play, those compression and refraction waves interfere with each other. Sometimes the peaks line up to produce a louder sound, and when a peak lines up with a trough, they cancel out. Because these frequencies are separated by 2 Hz, you hear 2 louder pulses every second. This is known as beating. Now the beats are really clear. And this makes sense when the two waves are interfering in the air. But what happens if a 261 Hz tone is played in one ear and a 263 Hz tone is played in the other?
Oh my god. Binaural audio beats for sleeping and studying.
What did you hear? Well, the tones never had a chance to interact, but you can still hear some subtle beating. Your brain is firing at a rate corresponding to the phase difference, causing the beat perception. When your brain mixes these frequencies together, it's called binaural beats.
Oh my god.
And maybe you've already heard of binaural beats, as a quick search of YouTube shows that some people claim they can improve focus or memory. But a 2023 review was inconclusive and emphasized the need for more standardized testing methods.
Cringe.
Audio illusions aren't a sign that our sense of hearing is faulty. I mean, the world is a messy, noisy place, and our brains have developed complex methods to deal with ambiguity. You fill in the gaps with your past experiences or expectations. Without your brain making these subconscious adjustments, a cocktail party would always just sound like a total mess. Audio illusions show us where our perception goes wrong, but the system as a whole is pretty good at getting to the truth.
Wow, my god.
Now, illusions remind us that we can't always take the world at face value. And while our unconscious minds might fill in the gaps from time to time, it's our critical thinking skills that do the heavy lifting of
Okay, I'll link the video in chat. We're gonna use so much of this information today. I'm so ready.
Mom, of course I'm a conservative mom. Of course I let my kids watch Trump on replay all day long. I'm a conservative mom. Of course Alexa knows who my daddy is. Alexa, who's my daddy?
Your daddy is Donald J. Trump.
I'm a conservative mom. Of course we have a commissioned art piece of Trump hanging in our house. I'm I'm a conservative mom. Of course my kids refer to Trump as daddy.
Hey Mom, when is Daddy Trump's next rally?
I'm a conservative mom. Of course my kids sit around talking about Trump all day.
Did y'all hear where Kamala Harris was trying to sell Daddy Trump's policies? Kamala Harris!
Okay. Kim Jong-un is looking at this and he's like, these people do this shit for free? What am I doing wrong? Why am I wasting so much effort on this bullshit? Okay, connections and time guesser, then J6, okay? Because I know how much we love that day in history. Match phone, bud range, Sierra, dirt, mate, pal, reach, check, natty, scope, complement, Stella, extent, partner. Oh, it's scope. That's the key word I've got. The scope of a thing, the extent of a thing. Range and reach. What's the reach of the problem? What's the scope of the problem? The extent of the problem, the range of the problem, the reach. Reach doesn't... Match phone, bud, Sierra, dirt, mate, pal. I think reach is probably it here. Breadth. Sure. Oh, nasty fucking beer, I think, right? Is natty like a beer? Stella, Bud. Why am I thinking like Natty Light? I don't even know if that's a real beer, if that's like a 4chan meme. Is Sierra a beer? It kind of sounds like it could be. Okay. Oh, this is like match point, mate. Things with like things that you hear in tennis. Check. Match, mate, check. Oh no, these are like when you're about to beat somebody in a game. Checkers? No, or chess? A match, a checkers, or a chess match, check, mate. Phone pal, partner, dirt. No. Things that go together. They complement each other. A mate, a partner, and a match. Check, dirt, pal, and phone. Paycheck, PayPal, pay dirt, and payphone. What does pay dirt mean? I don't know, but that's what this is. Cringe. Words out. What is pay dirt? Ground containing ore in sufficient quantity to be profitably extracted. Okay.